Good morning, and this installment of John Makes Bows is brought to you by Bow Backing. I'm going to be talking about rawhide backing, sinew backing, and cabling, cable back bows with a little twist. The first thing I want to do is I have unwrapped 2 out of the 3 paddle bows that I rawhide back yesterday. I just need to check on them just out of curiosity, and I'm going to rewrap the rawhide as tight as possible. The trickiest part, really in my estimation, of rawhide backing bows is not soaking the rawhide, that's simple, or even trimming it to size. That's relatively straightforward. You just put the bow limbs down there and you trace it out and then cut on the lines, a little outside the lines. It is not the gluing or the sizing, it is the wrapping. The wrapping is the hardest part. Of course, you need to be careful with everything, but the step which beguiles me the most is the wrapping. Because you're wrapping it while the glue hasn't dried, which means that the rawhide can slip side to side. And because I trim, let me just grab one of these, I'll grab this one. Because you trim it to size beforehand, it's very critical that it lays on there flat. And so I'm going to go back to the bench, but you can see the impressions here. Let's see, if you're really clean of eye, you can see the undried glue in circles in spots along this. That'll all disappear when it's fully dry. And it's definitely one of those, you need 3 hands to do it kind of a job. You need to be able to maintain constant pressure. A car, wow. As you're wrapping it, and if you do not, you're going to run into trouble because things will slip. So let me unwrap this. Hopefully this car won't pull in and disturb our session here. And I unwrap it neatly. I'll keep talking here because I want to do this neatly. And in this way I can show you how you can reuse your gauze bow after bow. If I was just to rip this at a distance from the bow, some of that gauze would stick, but if I get my roll right tight and then just push evenly, the chances of you ripping up your gauze, even though it's glued to the bow, will be lessened. After I inspect these, pat myself on the back, I'm going to rewrap them tight as I can possibly get. I know that this rawhide has not settled in because I see the impressions, the spiral impressions, which will disappear when it's fully dried. I'm seeing through the hide areas of glue that still aren't dry, little circles, which will also disappear. See, I get it right close to the wood and then carefully pull it. Now I won't do both sides while you're watching, but I will grab a bow. I'm very curious. Whoops, and that's the problem, you bobble it. Okay, in order to save time, so you're not just watching me do this, oh well heck, it's coming off fast. Look at that. I'm not ruining my gauze. There's a little bit of fuzziness sticking, but that's alright. Even though glue leaked out along the edges. Maintaining pressure with the gauze really close to the blade. Call it, because people ask me if I'm making propellers when I'm making these. I am not hurting my gauze. I can feel the dampness in this rawhide too. I'm not going to unleash it from the gauze wrap for good until it was dry. I want to give it every chance to be stable so the edges do not pull up, so the edges do not creep in. Gauze is a wonderful material. It can be used over and over again as long as you're careful with it. Respect your gauze, and your gauze shall respect you. Here we go. Yay! I did the correct one first. If I did the other side first, it would have been trapped in there. And you can see this. There are circles here. That's just undried glue. There is an impression from the gauze. Some of that impression, I did a good tight wrapping job, might stay, but generally it's going to smooth out. The edges aren't bad. Nice clean edges. It worked out valid. Now sometimes, even I, after like doing a million of these things, this will peel up a little bit because rawhide glued to rawhide isn't as sticky as rawhide glued to wood. Well, no matter. At this stage, if I was to peel this up, which I'm not going to really pry it, glue is still wet, 2 thicknesses right there where it joins, I could always apply more glue and just stick it right down there. Both sides are sized really well. It's Titebond 2, not Titebond 3, so it will glue to itself okay. Not 100% waterproof. And now I'm going to wrap it. I am not going to do the whole thing. I'm just going to show you. I like to have it, you see it's flat here and then it curls around on this side. I get better purchase. When you're doing it, the wet bow, if you've waited just a little instant, this is it. Constant pressure around, not releasing it, and watching, and then stretching it out, you can see that this is extremely clumsy. If you're careful, if you pop it up and then put it straight down on your lap, you can maintain pressure. I don't use a vise on the handle, some people do. And even though, pretend I just glued these things, as long as I'm not sliding it this way on my pant leg, I'm not gonna mess up the rawhide. Up, straight down. Up, and then stretching it out any way you can. Maybe put your thumb down there, back rolling it. It's not easy, let me tell you. It takes practice. Now, if you do happen to do the way I do, trimming it, and it just sloughs a little over, after I get this gauze wrapping on here, I'm able to push on the gauze and slide it sideways and feel where my edges are. So it can be corrected after you wrap it. This is how I do it. This is how I do it, maintaining even pressure so it goes, the rawhide goes straight down onto the bow. Look at that card.
Making some bows, huh?
Making some bows.
Cool, cool.
Turn around. And that's enough for this. I usually, with one gauze, I'm able to come up and then back down. Then I don't use rubber bands. I just make a little thing like this. Finish it that way. There we go. Enough for rawhide backing. Sinew backing. 2 examples. This one was wrapped after it received 3 layers, so it's dead smooth. This one I didn't really worry about it too much. You can see that this has a trace of gull wing with a little kick on the side. That's all right. I didn't do it to the same degree as this one did. This is Anthony's bow. I'm going to let it sit on that, maybe steam it again to set. But that's all right. It'll have a really neat shape. And as I come here, you can't tell, it's still not dry on the center section. It's dry right here. But this will have some sinew texture on it. It's not going to be completely smooth. I didn't wrap it, except for like an hour after I did it, just to kind of squash it down a little bit, just to even it out. I did 2 layers on this. I did a full layer down from side to side over the edges a little bit. Then I did another layer down the center, And that layer kind of stuck up here. As it dries a little bit, it'll make like a ridge. I didn't want to have that ridge, so I just wrapped it for about an hour, and then just so I could manipulate it, push it through the gauze to round it, just like this, and then remove the gauze so it'll dry with texture. It'll look like sinew on here, raw sinew, which I wanted to do. Now, the third kind, backing / cabling. And I've never seen this done before. Never seen this done before. But take this. This is a white cedar bow. Do a little knee tillering. You can see it's got, pretty good tiller. I can get a little bit more bend towards the center. But I shaped this. This is very round. It almost goes to a knife edge on the side. It's very rounded. And you would think that when you thin it down to the very edge here, in effect, you're making the bow more narrow. And that would be true if it was a self bow, no backing. However, when it's backed, what you're doing with a hump down the center is you aren't reducing the back. Forget the back here, as it gets thinned out to a knife edge. You're not reducing the width of the bow, even though you're reducing the width of the bow. This is kind of a mind twist here. What you're doing is you're maintaining a wide area of compression. And when this is humped, or even let's figure triangular, and you run a ridge of sinew down the back, you have in effect as much tension area as you do compression area. This is tricky bow theory here. You have that wide area to survive compression, which is an issue with a wood like white cedar, but that sinew on that hump will carry all the tensional load. So even though you're knife edging it on the side, you're not reducing the width, the useful width in compression, just in tension, which that hump of sinew will take care of. So I was sitting here pondering this, thinking that, okay, if I hump this, which it is, and I was to take a really thick, almost a cable of sinew, and instead of backing the whole thing, just running a big cabley like hump down the center, it would be a quasi sinew cabled, sinew backed bow. That would be interesting. I could run that thickened. I could even create a cable on a non-sticky surface, just kind of making a snake out of sinew, a lot of sinew, sticking it to the back with glue, and then at the ends, kind of flattening it and bringing it down to the tip. So this area would be sinew backed, and then it would go into a thick, cabley hump of sinew. In effect, it would be a cable bow, being at the thickest point in this limb, right down the center. I may do that. This is a pretty shaped bow. I can certainly tie the ends together backwards, sinew back it with reflex in it, or else maybe I will, just for the heck of it, make like that thick cable acting sinew layer centered down the back of the bow, leaving the edges blank. So it doesn't matter. You can see I've crossed a lot of grains here. This was actually made from a tree, and I just shaped it independently at the growth rings. Even though the growth rings are really violated on these limbs, would that thick cable running down the back absorb all the tension, turning this into the neutral plane, making all these growth ring steps a non-issue. That would be a good thing. So picture this. Flattened backing here, going to a thickened cable, maybe flattened backing it in the center to this end, and making a cable looking ball. With that, I do not believe this next car coming in, 2 cars, will turn around, so I'll have to cut it. Goodbye, have a great day. Thank you for watching.